Good morning. We're going to take a few minutes to talk about one of the key initiatives of MRSI, which is building pride and making MR a career of choice. We heard yesterday both Chandan and Monica talking about that in spite of a lot of the tech advancements and developments that's happening, human inciting is going to stay right at the center. Also, when the honorable minister was talking, and he really talked about it being, we may not as an industry have reached our inflection point yet. And he gave us a challenge of growing our workforce tenfold to 1 million. So it is no surprise that talent is center stage, and that's why we're talking about it. But why specifically this topic here today? Shobha asked a question yesterday in her session about people born before or after 1988. If I was going to switch that around and say who joined research before or after 2000, I think I'll get a fair representation in the room, both the brackets. So the real point, the main point here is we do have long and rewarding careers in market research, and many of us have stayed. But is this really a career of, the first choice that we make? And I think, Nitesh, you have an interesting story around that. You want to use this?
She'll be joining as well. So I'll announce that.
Noise on this subject, so I think they're just making sure it really works pretty well. Yeah. Is it working now? Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. So Paru, the noise that was happening was not because your mics were making noise. We need to raise the industry here, both literally. Yeah. So that's the noise was for. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, this is a question which I'm sure, hand on heart, if you ask everyone in this room, many of us would not even know when we were in college. Forget about school, that we wanted to choose MR as a career, yeah, market research as a career, or even, a little more sexy word for it, which is CMI, consumer market insights as a career, yeah. Now, the thing is, I'm very similar. I mean, even when I think back, now 22 years been working, when I was in school and college, born into a family of doctor, I only wanted to become doctor. My parents only wanted me to become doctor. There was no other career choice that I had, yeah. But when I didn't clear my entrance exam the first time, which is the reality, then my parents says, okay, why don't we take you to, those days, southern India, there were colleges that you can put into, you can buy a medical degree if you can't get it on your own. But somehow I was not ready to do that. So almost like a Bollywood movie, I said, okay, let me go to Delhi, I'll do something. Yeah, I came from a small town called Dhanbad in Jharkhand. So I said, let me go to Delhi and I'll do something, but I can't study for the same medical entrance exam once more, and I was not ready to go to South. When I came to Delhi, I looked into the university subjects, and there was a first subject which said anthropology. Yeah, I had no idea, believe me, what anthropology was all about. And way back in 93, 94, there was no Google to search what anthropology means. Yeah, beyond it said a one line in that booklet: study of human beings. Yeah, as an aspirant doctor who wanted to become a doctor, study of human beings sounded interesting to me. So I said, okay, this is the subject that I want to do. I can tell you, the 3 years of graduation that I enjoyed doing anthropology, and a lot of it was about meeting human beings, whether it was a tribal that we met in Chhattisgarh or that was a village that we lived in Rajasthan. I mean, I can never forget in my life. Those 3 years, I really enjoyed what I was doing, yeah. And after that, there was a great, article in US in 95, 96, which spoke about how the marketing was moving from product focused to consumer focused. Earlier, we used to make a product and then we used to find ways to sell it. But with the competition rising up and the economies of the world actually opening up, there was a lot of competition in every market. So therefore, it is important to go to the consumers and ask them, what do you want? What is your biggest pain point? And I'll make a product for it. Yeah. So there was a lovely article. Sometimes you will believe just an article can change your career. On Times of India, with I'm giving a little bit Times of India also here. But there was an article about moving from product to consumer focus and how anthropologists were a sort of the resource in marketing in US. Yeah. That gave me an idea about, okay, there is something that I could do beyond I mean, if you are from Jharkhand, Bihar, if you have not become a doctor engineer, then at least your parents think you'll become an IS officer, yeah? They start with an IS officer, you may fall somewhere, but they definitely start with an IS officer. So there was a lot of pressure, and anthropology was, one of the preferred subjects, even the today preferred subject in civil services for giving civil services, yeah? But I just said, no, I want to do something different. I did MBA, and then, it was an accident. And I have understood that accident, if it's not in love or on road, then it's beautiful, yeah. So this accident was really beautiful because, because of my anthropology background, somebody in Indica research, picked me up, which is B. Narayan Swami, I'm sure a lot of you know him, to say, oh, ye banda qualitative research karega. Ek to mujhe research pata nahi tha. Now they said he will do a qualitative research. I had no idea beyond that you have to go and talk to people. And then I realized when I joined Indica, they had a lot of tractor, wine and, liquor, all those kind of research. So they were looking for a male moderator. So their motivation was very simple, that we need a male moderator, yeah. And that's how I got into research, but then talking to people and consumers, see how history has been, that this is one job that I wouldn't leave for anything on the world, yeah. So that's a short story about it.
I think we can all agree that there's been a slow bleed of resources in the last few years in research, but COVID has really been a tipping point. And very often as researchers and as MRSI, we've met and we've discussed how do we stay relevant. But I think the more important question is, we know our new entrants are Gen Z, so how do we stay relevant to them and not just be relevant, but be on their bucket list as a destination to come to? So, and this is not something I think one type of company is facing, or it's clients or it's agencies, etc. I think it's an industry phenomena. Everybody's experiencing the fact that there is a resource crunch. And even if it's not a crunch, I think it may be getting better, but looking at the growth that we've had from the sizing report or our ambitions, so the entry into the industry is slower than its needs. So it is really important to focus on that. And if I was to ask around the room, I'm sure the questions of why we don't get people could be work-life balance, financials, etc. But I think there is more at play, which is really about building pride. Be feeling inspired is one of the key things I think that keep most of us in this industry. When you're feeling you're part of a change, when you do something that impacts a brand, when you shape a brand, when you can see your findings in the market, having a contribution to it, it gives us a sense of purpose. It makes us excited about working in this industry. And I'm not saying at all that financials is not important, but I think we can go a lot beyond that. It's not really the only reason to stay or leave. And all of us, I think, have vivid examples from our careers where our work has shaped something. And that becomes a driving force for us to stay. So if you look at this, we already know our entrants who are Gen Z are different from us. Many of us have stories of how hardworking we were and how they work differently now. I think it's a reality. They are different. We need to excite them differently. We need to retain them differently. And we need to attract them too. And as an industry, we have a lot to offer. If you just saw MR Works, the Rocks yesterday, I think
MR also works, Paru.
Yeah. I know, I don't want to be defensive about that. So, if you look at it, we are the experts of human understanding. We are in the pit. We are not in the front row seat or the back row seats. We are with the change, evolving with the change and part of the change. And that can be really exciting for some of us. Our work shapes brand. I mean, you will have lots of examples of that. And it makes them future ready. So, it is something that we can go in the past and connect to the future.
Yeah, but so I can't agree more. So I think one of the key things when we were talking about it, and I think I'm really happy for MRSI to pick it up, is about we feel so pride in the work that we do here. All of us, I'm sure all of you are here because you love the job. Had you loved money, you would have been somewhere else, I'm sure. So we are all here for the love of the job that we do. Yeah? What connections that we build when we are talking to people and when we are unearthing insights to drive growth for the company. And I think Piyush Goyal also spoke about yesterday, you shouldn't be apologetic about the job that you do. So we need to be unapologetic about what we do and what we bring to the table here. And there were one thing that, as a very young researcher, what made me remain in this industry for long was, I remember, and one of my famous client, and Rinku was just reminding me today, was LML, yeah? And because LML was a small company those days, you go and present, even as a qual researcher, directly to the chairman, yeah, Mr. Singhania. And then he would pick up the phone and do actions. So I would really feel high about it that, अभी मैं उनको 3-4 insights दे के आया हूँ कि ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, and that guy is acting on it, which used to give me a big high, which used to give me, he never gave me money after that, that's a different matter, but we take that offline, but that used to be big high. And one research I never forget, Element had come up with golden color bikes, yeah? And they were bikes for the first time in industry, and that was our insight, that when you look at bikes, then the bikes are usually of 3 colors. So if you really want to take the Hero Hondas of the world, you have to come up with something which is different, because on engine you can't really, on the machine you can't really fight with the Hondas and the Suzukis of the world. So color differentiation, they came 16 SKUs of bikes, yeah? Wear your attitude, very similar to what Vikender used to talk about, wear your own color in the college. And there was a golden color bike. Now I just imagine in UP and Bihar with a golden color bike, that was most sought after bike for dowry. Yeah, and therefore a bike which you were scoring, a Freedom was the brand of the name, it doesn't exist anymore, nothing to do with my research. 44,000 was selling at 90,000 rupees on black. Yeah, and that's what I found when I met in consumer in Itawa. I came back from Itawa, told that to Singhania, and there and then in front of me, he called the dealers there. There were 2 dealers in Itawa, and he blasted them. And he said that you are meeting me in office tomorrow morning, and we need to discuss this. When I walked out of the room, the marketing manager came walking to me and said, "Tum ab dobara Itawa mat jana, warna tumhari khair nahi hai." So that's the pride that we all feel so good about it. How do we carry it? And I'll tell you one thing about, not just on paper in the boardroom, when there was COVID crisis, and in the first few months, I was just telling Paru that, there were the front ends. Our sales force, we were in, actually the people who are working and making sure that the company is working and everyone is getting taken care of. And then Sanjeev actually addressed our CMI community because he was online. And he said, don't feel bad about the fact that you guys are not on the front end. Because when a war is won, it's not just won with the foot soldiers. It's also won with the strategists who are giving them the ideas. Because foot soldiers are only acting. कि मुझे ये करना है, मुझे वहाँ shoot करना है, मुझे इसके अंदर bunk करना है, and you have to do it. But the strategy of where and how and what angle and what degree has to be done, latitude, longitude is coming from the strategists behind. So you guys are the strategists for the company. So feel proud about the value that you're adding in the chain to drive growth. So that is something that again we should be very proud of in terms of what industry. So all of this, I'm sure MR industry gives all of us. And I am sure there is a story lying with each one of you in the room. The point is, as Paru would mention, we need to take it to the outside world to make people choose this as a career of choice. Paru.
And it's not just Nitesh and I who feel like this. We were doing sound bites quite actively yesterday amongst many of you. And these are some of the quotes that we've got from people about why they're in MR and why is it meaningful. So there's a lot of curiosity, there's a lot of learning. There's actually a inclusion because of the gender. I mean, just look around the room. It's one of the industries which is quite gender agnostic. So lots of reasons to stay, to join. And as you said, we just need to take this powerful story a little bit more outside. So as our, as MRSI, what are we really planning is to really give it concerted effort, to give it consistent effort, and while the resource, we need talent at all levels, we are going to focus at the entry level. We will look at the mid-level subsequently because just want to move fast. And it is the starting point. The benefits will come over time, but we'll stay at it and do this.
And I think this is really critical because if we don't build that pride at the entry level, then we won't be increasing the base of the people that we want to recruit. Today, when you go to college, people, with due respect, most of us are joining MR because there's no other choice of career in the companies which have visited their campus. Yeah, they're not necessarily saying, oh, there is a, a Kantar, a Nielsen, or a Ipsos, or Crownit which have come, and I want to join them because I want to build a career in market research. Yeah, we used to go to IMs for recruiting people in MR, and we realized they only come to MR as a route to marketing. So they said, okay, if I'm not getting a job in marketing directly in Unilever, let's go to the CMI. And I have heard of stories where people in CMI go into marketing, I'll go into marketing. And therefore, we stopped going to IIMs. We're saying that, okay, if that is the reason, then people are not coming for the reason of building a career in MR, but their career in marketing, MR as a route. Yeah. And that's what we need to do. Each of one of us need to go to the colleges to talk about what we do. I know there are people who do it. There are people who take classes in MR, in institutes. Some of us go and talk about it once in a while. But that's what we need to scale it up. We need to do as one team of insights professional, so that we get a lot of scale, we get a lot of people to know about a career in MR, and they all say that, okay, I want to choose it and not just take it as a default. And on the other end, at the middle level also, it's very critical, and I know, we are also guilty of it. At middle level, we keep recruiting people from each other companies, and that becomes a big challenge. Unless we not increase the base, it will not going to stop. And second, we also need to broaden our mindset in terms of places where we are recruiting from. Not just 5-6 companies or clients that we are recruiting from each other, but how can we go to adjacent sectors, like whether it's consultancy, whether it's lot which is happening in the analytics and everything. So broaden, something that I think Sandeep just mentioned. We have to broaden the place where we need to get the talent from. Yeah,
and like you said, it may be the last choice at one point in time, but we've seen that if you make it come alive, if it sheds it a little bit of the pedagogic image, and it's in sync with the Gen Z values, it actually, and yesterday was all that and more, and the conversions happen. So just to take an example, Manish had, I think you'd gone to Micah, right, Manish? And he teaches a course there. Now, actually, research agencies don't even go to Micah, but 3 students have come up to him asking how can they apply. And I think you try to warn them off by saying the salaries are not the same, but they're still keen. And the same thing happened in Lucknow. So I think the more we actually communicate what we go through with pride and with the joy that we feel, the more we will attract. So and I think even Mitali had, her nephew wanted different careers, etc., and she had a chat with him, and I think he's in one of the agencies right now. So these personal stories, the storytelling, bringing it alive, sharing the magic really does work. So it's and also, we have a chance to go and teach in different universities and shape the course, seed the love for MR a little bit earlier, so that you can really shape the industry as well as the attraction to the industry. It's quite clear that MRSI can't do it alone. So, and that's the reason actually Nitesh is standing here, because he's our first volunteer as the ambassador, which actually I'm going to call out and ask for many more volunteers. But I think as a first step is from the HR in the room and from all the member companies, we do need a list of campuses that you visit, because we want to prioritize within that. We want to focus the MRSI efforts so that all our member companies actually gain the most. So it's going to be completely confidential. It's going to be with the Secretariat. We will consolidate that list and prioritize which campuses we'll go to. The plan next is to call for ambassadors who can represent MRSI. We would like it to be a combination of 2, and we split up. I mean, we want as many as we can, so that we cover different geographies. We go beyond tier 1 and do pre-placement talks for the whole industry. And you were the first volunteer, but I think sitting next to Geeta has helped, because she's the second one. So I think it is something that as a wave can actually bring people in. Also, we all know internships is a good method of giving them glimpse into our world, as well as it's a lever for us to build relationships with admission counselors to get a preference when it comes to recruitment. So as MRSI, we would really encourage, and we can facilitate that for all the universities that we go to. And I think finally it is about giving our time back, doing the teaching, going back for either full courses, some sessions, just making MR come alive with students, maybe at a university level, maybe at a post-graduation level, but across the board. So MRSI will definitely be in touch with you, but if anybody in the room wants to volunteer right now, can reach out to Mitali. And we would love to actually enroll more ambassadors who could do this.
In fact, reach out to Mitali and Paru here.
Yeah.
So Paru is leading it from MRSI. So, I mean, if you want to, if there are ideas, because it's just the beginning, but we all want you to be in this journey together. We can't do it alone. MRSI can't do it alone. One client standing here can't do it alone. It's about all of us coming together. If you have ideas how we can do it better, please share. If you want to volunteer to go into the campuses and talk about what we do, I think just our stories, our own journeys in the last 15, 20, 10, 5 years, I'm sure would warm up a lot of students to want to choose a career and the impact that we create to the business. And I think Piyush will talk about it. Let's be unapologetic about the impact that we create in everyday business that we work with. Yeah? And I think that's the plea that Paru is leading from MRSI and I have to all of you. And let's take it to the next level and take the first step forward here.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
Thank you. Questions? Or why don't you come here, then I think the...
Yes. Thank you so much, Nitesh and Paru, for such a wonderful session. Yes. We just have 2 quick questions for both of you. As part of the Gen Z cohort, my seniors always project the MR industry as a small fraternity, which makes it seem impenetrable. What are some ways in which we can alter this perception and hence make the industry seem more welcoming and accessible? PS, market research was my first choice of career. This is someone from
That's actually great to know, and I think even for the, I just want to be near the mic, right?
Sure.
So even for the first part of the question, I think if you just look at the industry sizing report today, it tells you the width and the depth. It is not a small industry. You know, it's quite large with different streams and different specialities kind of a thing. So definitely large and not that small a fraternity.
Yeah. And if I just add to what Paru is saying, it's not about being the size in terms of number and the business being small, big or thing. I think we should change the narrative to the impact that we create, yeah? So it's the impact that we create in the business. You know, if you are a market research company, the impact that you create from a company point of view, if you're working within a company, the impact that you create to the growth and the business, yeah? And I mentioned what Sanjeev Mehta said about this, you know, we are the strategy which give it ideas how to win the war or how to get more growth for the company. So that is more important. And when you measure that impact narrative, then it's not small, I can tell you.
And I think the person who sent the question, if you can be a volunteer for the ambassador because it was your first choice, that'll be great.
Yeah.
The next question is, there are 2 challenges. One is not having enough entry level to build the base, and the other challenge is the mid-level attrition. How do we plan to tackle this within the industry?
Shall I take it for first, the first one?
Yeah.
So entry level, let me be honest about it. As one of the biggest, recruiter of MR people in Unilever, we have not gone to entry level people. And I take full responsibility for it. Yeah, we have not. We have always gone people with 4, 5, 6 year plus experience. So that's the first thing that we are changing. So change has to start somewhere, begin somewhere. From next year onwards, and that's exactly what we discussed, Unilever is going to hire people from colleges directly. Yeah, and not necessarily from the A1 colleges, but from the colleges that all of you are going to. So therefore, I think that was very important that we will do it. Because if you don't take that first step, it will not happen. Yeah. So I would also appeal, because we all want, and this is a clear discussion which I always have among team members. Oh, if you get a fresher, usko train karna padega, yaar. Let's get somebody with 4, 5 years experience. I mean, if we won't train it, then who would train it? Yeah. The knowledge that each one of us have, we need to invest. That's the least we can give back to the industry that has given so much, that we need to invest in their training to be able to get them on their feet to be able to work as well as we can in the MR industry. So Unilever is going to change. I don't know the number exactly, the number that we'll recruit, but we are going to recruit freshers from college directly here.
And I think as a research agency, I don't think we have so much of a challenge of getting entry level because we do recruit in large numbers, but the idea is also to inspire people and get the right mindset to join MR. And then your mid-level will get sorted because you get people who are engaged, who want to join MR, they will find it meaningful and they will stay. So,
Thank you. Let's hear it once again for Paru and Nitesh.
Thank you.
this is to the first volunteer.
Thank you very much.
For everybody whoever volunteered.
Thank you.
Thank you.